We have a table of data showing the rainfall for the past 20 years. Our first thing is to determine the quartiles, and we're going to use StatCrunch to do that. So open the data in StatCrunch. You want to do the summary stats on our column. We have that one column, variable 1. And to do the quartiles, we're going to need to figure out Q1. Q2 will be the median, the data right in the very middle, and then Q3. So hold down Control to select extra items. We'll also want the interquartile range, so hit Control and then select that as well. So let's compute that. And so looking back, getting our windows here, the StatCrunch produced the numbers we needed: the first quartile, the median, which is the second one, and Q3 there. And part B was the interquartile range, 3.045, and that's just the difference between the first and the third. So you could subtract and do that manually, or StatCrunch just produced it for you along with the Q1, Q2, and Q3. And then C says the lower and upper fences. So to figure out the lower and upper fence, you want to use the interquartile range and multiply that number by 1.5. So if we pull up a calculator, 3.045 times 1.5. So that's your value that you're going to use to determine the lower fences. And the lowest fence, you look at Q1 and subtract 1.5 times the interquartile range, which we determined already. So if you took 1.895 and subtracted this value, you would get our lower fence. And then to get the upper fence, it's very similar. You do 1.5 times the interquartile range, so our same value here. And this time you look at Q3 and add it. So take that number and add it to Q3, and you'll get our upper fence. And the last part of the question says, are there any outliers according to this criterion? And what that means is there any numbers from our data that are below the lower fence or above the upper fence. And we have no values outside that range, so D is the correct answer. All the values are between the lower and the upper fence, so we have no outliers. And just to look at our data, you would know there was nothing below the lower fence because rainfall, the lowest you can get is 0.0 rainfall. So since our lower fence is in the negative, we're not going to have any outliers on that end. But it was possible that maybe there was a rainfall above 9.5 for a really rainy April. But it wasn't the case with our data, so we had no outliers. Everything was in between our lower and our upper fence.